getting in here.
Yeah,
Yeah, look at
we're ready.
this. This is great. All right, we already got Bruce from Vancouver. And as you all are coming on in, why don't you put in the chat where you're coming from? Because we are knowing that we are a global opportunity, and some of us are domestically in the United States and elsewhere. So, but it's going to really be helpful for myself, and my name's Joe, as it's in the chat. I go by he, him, and we have Vicky and Ali will be joining us, and I'll be introducing them very shortly. Boca Raton, Kenneth from Boca Raton, and Jeff from Kelowna, British Columbia, Linda from NYC, and Ronnie from Miami, Tommy from Canandaigua. I do know where that is in New York. Los LA, Virginia, Toronto, Tupelo, Missouri, Toronto, Lake Charles, Phoenixville. Look at this. We are all over the place in a variety of time zones as well. So this is fantastic. Wow. And it's so important that us as we all are creatives to be able to know that this is the bind that ties, right? As far as it doesn't matter of how many miles we are apart, but the passion that we have for acting and to be able to gather to share what we want to be able to do, and our innovation and creativity is really, really important, and to be able to celebrate that as well, as we are sharing even more in Cape Cod. Phil, that's awesome. What we want to be able to know more and more about is not only from where you're from, but we're going to talk about what kind of wins have we had over the last few days or few weeks. The one win is that writer's strike is over, right? That's wonderful that we want to be able to celebrate that, and righteously so. As far as like let's make sure that they get what is due to them, because if we don't have words, we have nothing. But we expect well, we do have the expression, but something that we need to be able to help and share with anyone. And for myself, I am a worker by day and creative by night, or creatively all the time. And I have built my portfolio as far as acting and commercial modeling and voiceover, and it's something that I really, having this sort of community across the domestically in the continuous United States of North America, but also around the world, is really, really important. And it's something that we need to thrive more on, and knowing that we are together in all of this, no matter where we are. So take advantage of those blogs, take advantage of that networking, sharing information with each other, posting on Instagram, and however you do connect through TikTok and such. It's really, really important. And that's kind of what we want to make sure of, and what we're going to be talking about today. And this whole process, especially the wait as far as the writer strike and the actor strike, is making a lot of us nervous. But it's still something that we know that the end is near. And to be able to have the opportunity of really talking with two amazing individuals who are going to help us through that, and with question and answers. But I really want to be able to first introduce and share with you and why you chose to be part of this webinar, because All Casting does some amazing webinars, but with Vicky Johnston and Ali Clark. So many of you probably did due diligence of your research about Vicky, but let me just tell you a little bit more about Vicky, and that she's a freelance global casting director since 2009, and has experience working with one of the fastest paced talent agencies in the Northwestern states as their global, not just domestic, but global booker. And her skill set is quite unique because she's worked with every aspect of managing talent, working with other casting directors, producers, guiding talent with onboarding into the industry, and working with incredibly seasoned talent producers and directors. And early on in her career, she mostly cast principal talent for films, TV commercials, corporate videos, industrial shorts, print, voiceover, and independent media for local businesses and productions in Utah. And over time, she wants to meet the needs of her clients, and she's cast talent in the States, and, as I said, internationally, which has allowed her to cast projects no matter where the shooting location is in. And this is kind of what we are so appreciative, and what through the pandemic has been able to brought us through this mechanism, as we all know too well now, of Zoom and self-tapes. And introducing you to Ali Clark, talent director and manager to the celebrities, based all over the country. And she's personally worked with TV and film industry in various acting and performance roles for over 30 years. Working as a talent manager, she's also sign top talent for networks such as Disney and NBC, ABC, Yellowstone, High School Musical, the series, Marvel, American Girl, American Idol, Make It Your Own, and several motion pictures. And as a previous owner of numerous performance studios and other businesses, she's identifying amazing talent, which is her specialty. So providing an opportunity to talent and to gain the necessary tools to start their career is one of her biggest accomplishments. Assisting in the fulfilling of these talent streams is something that can't be matched. And she loves working with people of all ages, guiding them to our true future in the entertainment industry. So I want to welcome Allie and Vicky, and want to be able to provide you a little bit more things to be able to welcome everybody here.
Thank you.
Wow, Joe, you're amazing.
Fine.
What a great intro. Thank you.
You know, when I'm wondering as far as we've got amazing individuals that are joined us, and when we're really thinking about getting into this whole business, you know, we were kind of starting with some really overarching basic questions that I think just having validated, or at least for you to share a little bit more. But when we're wanting to experience acting, does experience matter? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So experience, I mean, yes, of course it matters, but when you're new, and I don't always look at the experience. Mostly what I'm looking at is, have you been trained professionally? If you're new, you're not going to have a lot of experience right off the bat. But there are some really good places where you can get some great experience from to begin with, so you can start building your resume. But your training is probably the most important thing. I mean, like as you mentioned before, I've worked with one of the fastest paced talent agencies. It was kind of insane, but it was like this wheel that never stopped. And so and as a casting director, when I'm submitting talent to the client, there are certain things that I want, that I'm looking for. And one of those is professionalism, and whether you've been trained, and of course that you do have the ability to act. So if you don't have those three things, then I get nervous. I don't know if I can trust you. So the level of risk kind of goes up for me a little bit. That's not to say that as a new actor that you cannot be that. You know, you can be professional. You can have the right training, and making sure that you're aware of what the casting director is looking for. And ultimately, as a casting director, we're trying to please the client. So the client is, you know, really the person who makes those final decisions. We just guide them as to where we think, you know, would be a good selection for their type of media that they're doing. But we also, you know, so they're trusting us, and so I need to trust the actor, you know, and who's being brought forward. And I'm assuming, I mean, I would love to know how many people here are new to acting, have actually even tried, have you been on a film set before? Are you, like, how much experience do each of you have? But if you're brand new, I do recommend getting trained. Like anything, when I've become proficient in a lot of different things, but I value getting professional training by the right people. And so that's really key for an industry that you want to become, you know, a professional talent at. Then you need to look for the right training. There are lots of different places that you can get trained in, but mostly you want to make sure that you are being trained in the business of film acting, because there is a business side to it. And if you don't understand the business side of it, then it's gonna take a little bit longer for you to get to where you want to be. And if you're like me, I like to expedite my learning process.
Right.
And so that's why your training is important, and making sure that you are learning about not just the art of acting, but also the business of acting. Knowing the technical side of how to do self-tapes. What if you're going to a live audition? How do you present yourself? What do you need to bring? How do you need to prepare? All of those things. So going back to your question of experience, of course, experience helps because it reduces that level of risk. But that's not to say that I won't look at you and consider you for something, because there is a lot of good talent out there that they don't have the experience yet, but they've aligned themselves so that they're in a good position and they're a new face. We're always looking for new faces. And so, yes, we would obviously consider if you did not have experience.
Wow, that's so incredibly and so important, and we really appreciate that. And I'm watching some of the chat here, and we have a good blend as far as new and experience. And Allie, you were very much nodding along with what
Yes,
Vicky
I
was saying.
absolutely.
What
Yeah.
might else are you able to add to that?
Well, and I echo exactly what she's saying, is that there's one thing that is kind of the underlining factor in all of it. It's not to waste time. It's not to waste the actor's time. It's not to waste, the agent's time or the casting director. So when you have all those necessary tools to put forward, you've done your job, we've done our job, and it's up to the casting director, the producer, whoever's actually making the final decision on that, to make that educated decision that way based upon what you're presenting. Now, sometimes people will say, hey, I've been trained and I'm not getting gigs. The thing is, with an actor specifically, the training never ends as an actor. You have Robert De Niro, still trains. You look at Brad Pitt, still trains. That's a craft that you're continually mastering. It's not something that you attend one time, okay, I'm done, now I can go. It's a developed skill set that you have to pursue. And as with anything, practice makes perfect, and moving forward with that. One of the other questions that we often get is, does age matter? Of course, it does not matter, because you're moving forward with a casting that's age appropriate. If you're a 25-year-old and you're trying to pursue something that's a 60-year-old, you'll pretty much guess that that's not going to be a good fit, and vice versa. Sometimes we have opportunities with superhero type roles, and people will come through thinking that they fit that build, and no, they're not going to fit that build. So castability is very, very important also with that type of thing as well.
Great.
And I think somebody here asked about, does stand-up and comedy improv experience help? Yes. Oh my goodness, that is an absolute definite yes. So because I've been on all sides of, as a casting director, as a talent agent, and I'm looking through all the projects that come through, one of the highest requested things is, can you do improv? Do you have comedic timing? So yes, absolutely, that should 100% go on your resume. That is something that you want to bring to light, for sure, as a major skill that you have. That's a good skill, because not everybody has comedic timing. So yes, that's a major plus. Thanks for asking that.
That's good, because I know even for myself, and when there's improv available, or just some groups getting together, knowing that needs to happen. You need to be able to play off of each other, and to go back as far as that training, or even when you're as far as agents or casting directors, that is, when you are putting the trust in the actor to be able to make sure to show up in the professionalism, it's a brand, right? It's a brand to which we are bringing. And so that's something 24/7 that you're representing. And we need to know that if we're having the opportunity of being cast through you all, that we need to recognize it's not just about us. It's a team here that we're representing. And so that's all right. That's great to know. We've got a couple additional questions here that I want to ask you. So this goes back to training, and Eric has asked, does training from professional actors count, or do we need to look at college or other agency training? And then there's a follow-up as far as, are there certifications that are helpful? But that is kind of definitely, as far as, there's different schools that offer this that are not affiliated with a college or university. What might you provide guidance here for our watchers?
I think sometimes when you're looking at that broad spectrum, obviously you have to consider the source of what you're doing. If it's someone that's done a couple of things and they're not very seasoned, but feel that they're an amazing actor, you know, tips and things like that are helpful. But really, when you're going through and you're putting down your trainings on a resume, you're very specific with the types of training that you're involved in. Usually if you're a film actor, we're going to see more of method training on your resume. A lot of people don't know what method training is. And that's something that a lot of times more seasoned talent will have. And there are different techniques that are used in those types of things. That's not going to be just a casual conversation of someone saying, here we go. With colleges and things like that, it depends on what area and field of expertise you're moving forward with. If you're a theater actor and you're trying to break into film and TV, those are two very different ways of acting. So that might not be beneficial if you're trying to become a film actor and moving forward. Another thing I suggest to people is know your area, know your territory, and what's expected from that. Because what's expected maybe in one territory is not going to be the same expectations in another. And that's one thing that is a very frequent thing that it happens on the daily, especially when I'm talking with talent, is, hey, I'm booking all of these different things over here. They just need monologues, and here I go. Well, it's different over here. That's not what we need. That's not what our casting directors need to see. And that's when, you know, demo reels come into play, and, you know, a lot of times monologues are not favored most of the time over here. So it's to get that expertise from a professional is what I would say. Any type of learning is obviously wonderful learning, but if you're trying to be, I think, an accredited actor with some great things, that you're selling yourself on paper and through your reel. So you want to have those things match up. Mm-hmm.
You know, and one thing, and I just want to quickly pause, let it for our participants know that there's two chats. One is for a live that goes to everyone, and then if you want to have a question that you want to have answered, please put that into the other chat. We just want to make sure that everyone understands that, so we're able to get to what we can during the time that we have. Well, you just mentioned something about reels. And can you explain a little bit more for everyone, especially the new actors or wanting to get into business, as far as the need for or the value for reels, especially from your lens, your respective lens?
Vicky, do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to?
I do. I'm so excited you mentioned this. Okay, so there's and I appreciate that there are people that are new, and some people will not have a demo reel, because demo reels come from clips of media that you've done in the past. And so demo reels are like the number one thing that a casting director wants to see from you. They want to know your acting ability. But if you're new, you probably don't have anything to put on a demo reel. So people will actually cast from a demo reel. Like sometimes we're looking for something specific, and I'll go through some of the demo reels that I have on file, and I'll show that to the client, and the client is like, yes, we definitely want to book that person. Let's set up a meeting to meet with them just to make sure we're all good, but their acting ability is on point. And so they will get cast from a demo reel. So a demo reel is hugely important, but if you're new, you won't have one. Joe, would you mind if I share my screen for a minute?
Sure. Do you have hosting availability?
Let me have a look. I think I do.
All right,
So
great.
I just want to show you. So what I'm going to show you is if you don't have a demo reel, then I suggest that you do a personality reel. So a personality reel can be done from your home, and it's just you. But it's all about your personality. This is just a tool that you can use, and this is something you absolutely can put on your Casting Networks profile, on your Actors Access profile. If you're with an agent, put it on your agent website where your profile is. So let me show you really quick what this is, and then I'll stop sharing my screen just a second.
This is great.
All right. So this is, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is just this cute little video that I saw on YouTube, and this is her personality reel. I want you to notice how it was edited, what she says, and how short the clips are. So let me just run it for a second. Hopefully there's no ads.
Hi, my name is Frances Fox. I really like after-school activities. I like playing soccer, and my favorite position is forward because you get to run for the ball. When I score a goal, I'm like, this is my second year in the Louisville Leopard Percussionist. I've learned to play xylophone, buzz, vibraphone, congas, and bongos. I'm also taking piano lessons. I'm made of music. I love to play roles that are sort of goofy characters. For example, I'm the kind of kid who would go around the neighborhood collecting stray cats. I'm really afraid of spiders. Mommy! Insects like stink bugs, help me! And snakes. One thing you should know about me is that I'm easily startled.
Okay, so that was less than 1 minute. but
Yeah.
but it tells me so much about this beautiful, cute kid, and she has charisma. She just did it in her own home. You know, everybody can do a little backdrop, have really good lighting. The sound was excellent. She was framed well. You notice that the framing kind of came in and out in different places. The cuts were very short, but she kept my attention the whole time. So I hope that that was a good example
Oh,
for
that was
anybody that's
fantastic.
new.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
I just
definitely.
loved
I
it
think
when I
to
saw
have
her.
that, wow, what a takeaway, right?
Yeah.
To be able to have, because everyone has, well, the majority of everyone has a smart device to be able to have, it has a good camera quality, and to be able to just say, okay, let me get a tripod and let me kind of do this myself and such. And so, and just experiment. And really what was so, I think, wonderful that you showed that time limit, 1 minute, and how much was packed in there, but it wasn't too much. It was just, it was kind of like the Goldilocks approach, not too much, not too, yeah, it was just right on to be able to do that. So that's
And I think
awesome.
that's
Thank you.
key too, to kind of also tell people sometimes when we receive reels, they have included mainly the whole entire production that they were a part of. And when you're making a decision, with whatever role that you're moving forward, they just need snippets, and usually 10-second snippets, and your whole reel is a minute and a half long. That's a perfect length for them to get an idea of your range as an actor, or like what Vicky had said, if they're new, they had a personality when they showed some range, even when through their talking and moving forward like that. So yes, very short, condensed, quick to the point.
All right, that's
Yeah,
great.
I
So
would I
that's
would love to see
everyone
that
making
from
sure.
new actors.
Yeah, no, yeah, that definitely. So, that's, thank you again. We've got a couple more questions. Gonna pivot a little bit here as far as going back to the experience or working with a couple different agencies. There's a question from Jonathan. What is your experience with Crawford Management? I have sent self-tapes, but I get nothing back. I think this kind of goes along as far as anybody submitting any self-tapes to any agency or any particular management. Can you help us through that process? Because I would only imagine that you're getting hundreds, if not thousands, of just self-tapes, and you're trying to spend your time as far as assigning who you're working with clients, but then also you're getting all this in. So I think it's good for your perspective to share.
I think one of the
Yeah.
things is it's very true. When you have a casting that comes through, you're getting submissions left and right from everyone, and you don't want to waste time, and you certainly don't want to invest that time trying to understand what someone's doing, or where they're coming from, or they're real, or things are so jumbled, and at times you just put those aside and you don't even entertain it. With anybody, especially if you're going through an agency, you would have the opportunity to submit something, and oftentimes the agent or the bookers or whoever's moving forward will sift through what was submitted and choose out of that crop of people who best fits that casting, and we'll send it on to that casting director. One thing to remember is when you're not receiving feedback, that's very typical. You don't receive feedback. Your agent might give you feedback on something if you're continuously doing that, but when you're submitting things, if you're not hearing back from something, that's a pretty big indicator. No, it didn't work out. You will receive feedback when you do get the job. So again, getting counsel, coaching, and from someone to understand, hey, I keep auditioning, I keep doing this. get the feedback from a third party and let them see what that issue could be or what they need to work on. And there's always something to work on. No one's perfect, there's always something to work on with that.
Yeah, this is actually probably the number one concern for actors, is that they self-submit for these things, but they just have no idea. They have no idea what the casting director is thinking. They don't get the feedback, and it's honestly true. And unfortunately, I mean, as a casting director, I get this all the time. I see hundreds in a day sometimes of all of these castings, and if you try and watch hundreds of self-tapes in a day, and you'll notice it on the casting breakdown, we'll say things like, your self-tape should be no longer than 40 seconds or something like that, because we actually want to get to every single self-tape. But if there's something, and I hate to say it, but it's the honest truth, but if you haven't kept my attention for the first 10 seconds, I've already gone to the next one. It's really sad, but it's so true, because there are actors there that submit a self-tape, and in 10 seconds, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely watching to the end because I love what I'm seeing. But if you cannot capture me, it sounds so hard, but it really is. It's like, I can't, my time is valuable to try and get through all of the castings. But I do understand, and I do have empathy for the actors that just have no idea. They don't know what the casting director is. And it could be something so simple that they're doing that if they just changed one little thing, it would make all the difference. I do offer consulting, by the way, because as a casting director, I've realized that the actors need help and they're just not getting the feedback that they need. And so I'm now offering this. I never used to do it because I would just get so busy, but I understand that this is an issue. So yes, if you're not getting anything, you need to get some sort of coaching. Somebody needs to look at your self-tapes and tell you what it is that you're doing. I get asked to speak at lots of different events just as a guest speaker, and I'll have them do their self-tape, in front of me. They'll do some side or thing. And I actually get to critique them, and they walk away, and I'll give them that direction right then. Like as soon as they've done their piece, I'll give them the direction, ask them to do it again, and they do it again. And it's like completely different just because of the little advice that I gave them. And it makes them think outside of what they're thinking, because you do need some coaching sometimes along the way. That's why training is so key. So when you do training, you have a coach, you have somebody there to instruct you, to give you more direction. I know people try and do it on their own without having to pay for training, but there is so much great investment in doing that.
Investment
And
yourself.
you just said the key word, right? Was investment. So
It
that's
is.
no matter
It is.
what profession you're in, it's always about professional
Investment.
development.
Yeah. One
know?
thing that's great is Vicky and I will be doing an event with True Talent Network where you're able to attend on Zoom or you're able to attend live. And you'll be able to get, the feedback from that type of event. It's very, very nice to kind of get that individual approach. But not only from a coach's point of view, from a casting director's point of view, from a talent director's point of view, and also get some training. They help with reels, they'll help with some things. So if you go to that truetalentnetwork.com and hit that register button, you'll see a way where you can reserve a spot and be a part of that and get that feedback as well.
That's fantastic. I've had the opportunity of doing a few of those, and it just that coaching and that immediate feedback, because again, and as authentic as you were, Vicky, is that when we don't get that feedback, it's just like, well, you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. And so kind of, and you are the experts to be able to see that. So that's so wonderful. So thank you for that as well. We have another question. A couple of these are one-offs to an extent. We're talking a little bit about voiceover right now. And the question from Nathan is, how can one match the character's voice to your own in voiceover acting?
I guess I'm a little confused on the question. So
yeah, so I'm trying to process that too. So how can you match the character's voice to your own in voiceover acting? I think more or less this is if it's caused calling for a certain, let's go back to what the casting director is looking for, a particular part, and that, and you're trying to change your voice to that. Is there a way, should you try to do that, or is it more or less be as natural as you can?
Well, when you're
I
submitting,
always
go with, yeah.
no,
I was,
and this goes for either acting or for voice.
Mhm.
Is that you have to use your unique voice, and obviously you're going to learn your different ranges of what you're capable of doing. I mean, I did a session one time where, and it was acting, it wasn't just the voice, but he did a scene from a movie with Denzel Washington. And I was critiquing him in the scene that he was doing. And as soon as he was done, I was like, to me, you're trying to be Denzel Washington. Don't do that. Don't copy another actor. The reason why clients hire you is because you are unique. You have something that no one else has. So the most important thing, and this goes for voice as well, is don't try to sound like someone unless you're actually trying to imitate someone, and that's what your role is to do. But let it come from you. Like, acting is actually not acting, surprisingly enough. It is actually who you are, the essence of you, and then bringing about certain characteristics with that. So so make sure that you're not trying to copy a particular sounding voice necessarily, unless that's the instruction.
Great.
And when you're submitting for voiceover roles too, there's certain, you'll have voiceover reels that they can actually listen to and see your range as a voiceover actor as well. It could be animation, a jingle, a narrative. I mean, there's lots of different divisions with voiceover that, you can supply them with as well. I don't know if that answers his question, but
I think the spirit of it, absolutely. Because I think there's, especially if one is new, trying to understand, do I go to and try to get to what they're looking for, or is it more or less, and I'm one, and I appreciate what you just said, is that you need to find your own voice, and to be able to go with that, because that's what makes you unique, and that is what you want to be able to value on as well. So another question here about cold reads. And we have Valerie, who's going to a cold read for film. Good for you, Valerie. And any advice for Valerie or any of us that might have that opportunity? How does one prepare for a cold read?
Oh, you have to love those ones. So cold read is you literally get given the script when you're there. So you don't really have a lot of time to necessarily prepare. They just give you the script. Those are so fun, but you've already got some clues right there. One, it's for film. Two, when you get the sides, is sometimes it has a page number on it. Well, hopefully it has a page number on it. So you can kind of tell in a film, like, where you are at. Like, are you at the beginning of the film? Are you at the middle of the film? Or are you at the end of the film? So these are giveaways. So if you think about the arcs in a film, there are always certain things that kind of occur in a storyline. And so you want to look at where in the story you are. Let's say you're at the end. It's a 125-page script, and you're on page 120. Well, at that point in the film, it's really intense. There's a lot of stuff going on. So that's how you're gonna prepare things in your mind to do that cold read. So that's just kind of a couple of tips to think about. Think about, what is the genre of that film? Is it a comedy? Is it, like what is this story about? If you can find out as much as you can ask questions as well. So please, ask a couple of questions before you give the read, which will help you determine the way in which you'll make that performance for those sides. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. We have another question. This goes back to reels and creating reels or building a portfolio for reels. We've got two. The first one is from Tommy, and he was recently cast and taped a game show that has yet to be released. And if and when the footage is available, and if given permission to use some of the footage, would you consider this a good option for a self-reel for someone who is new?
It depends on what type of reel.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
Like, is it commercial? Is it theatrical? You're going to have a different commercial reel, you know, in comparison to a theatrical reel. Sometimes there are athletic reels. So there's lots of different types of reels. So if you're trying to attract more of reality show type, you know, then you want to do a reality show type reel. So they're very, very different. So if that's the only thing you have, then sure, include that. But you want to, when it comes to a reel, you want to keep it, don't make it like 3 minutes long. And you like, it can be really boring otherwise if that's the only footage that you have. You actually want to do really short cuts. Some casting directors don't love montages. Personally, I actually like them because I get to see a really quick snapshot of what you can do in a really short period of time. And then you can slow down the scenes after that, but don't drag out the scenes where it's like, just because you're in that picture, I don't need to see you unless you're doing something that looks intriguing. So yeah, just keep your, I mean, even if it's like a 30-second demo reel, that's okay. You know, if that's all you've got, then just leave it as a 30-second demo reel and keep it within the genre. So keep your reality stuff within a reality reel, commercial in a commercial, and so on.
It won't do any good to have to push forward a game show clip if you're trying to achieve a goal or a role in like a TV series, or you know, that's not going to do any good.
Right.
So
So variation is key, is absolutely key to be able to show
Yes.
that for everyone. And so so a question about just experience overall and getting that acting experience. Besides the formal of be it through studios, be it colleges or university, where else can people look for as far as how to gain that experience for acting?
Oh, yes. And this is my number one question I get as well. Is yes, do go to your local colleges. Make sure that you're signing up for their film department. For these are all volunteer roles. You probably, I mean, there are some that will actually pay, but most of them, these are they're student films. If you can, try and get on to those student films that are kind of at their intermediate to advanced level, because they kind of know more about what they're doing. They have the state of the art technology in some of these schools, but when they're a beginner, they're not really sure and they're still learning the ropes. They don't know exactly how to use a lot of the equipment. So it's I mean, you can tell the difference basically. And then their editing skills is at a different level as well. You want something to come out that is like, I mean, they're trying to do their best. They're trying to get good marks. So if they're at an intermediate to an advanced level, you definitely want to do that. I would also suggest looking at Facebook, going like search up your state or your country and look up Chicago film actors, Chicago actress, Chicago castings, Chicago, whatever it is, you know, so try and find the local networks. Also sign up as a member for your Motion Picture Association. So that's going to send you to all of the events that that are usually combined with your film commission. So you want to be at those events. So make sure that you have to be networking all the time. Your biggest network is actually whoever you get trained by. So if you have a local, you know, training that you go to, then they're your network as well. So that they're going to come up. Lots of people have lots of, you know, opportunities through so-and-so knew so-and-so. Be mindful though that there is risk obviously in the industry. So you want to make sure that those recommendations are reputable.
and you do. That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Having a reputable place to go through is definitely key. I do know, to add on to what Vicky was saying, was that if you do go on to any social media platform, you know, maybe it's Facebook or Instagram, there's a lot of places that are looking for actors and or models or, you know, any type of talent because they're trying to build their reel or their experience and their training or whatever, and they're looking for those opportunities. They're not paid, but that's okay. You're getting that experience and it's free, you know. And so much of what we've been talking about is very much geared towards the actor, but Models, same type of thing. Models think, hey, I think I'd like to do this. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to do to pursue this. There's, something to be said for someone who's very professional and someone who has no idea what they're doing. And then in our previous conversations, we even discussed that, saying, hey, it's a reflection on not only you, it's a reflection on us, it's a reflection on everything. It affects everyone. And if you're trying to move forward in that modeling arena, and that's kind of where you're wanting to go, then just remember that a comp card is essential for those types of things, moving, in that direction. And if you don't know what a comp card is, then again, get some training. You understand how to know what you're doing. It's just as if you're applying for any job. You're an amazing cook and you want to be a chef. You're going to show all of your best work and you're going to prepare those things to give to the employer. It's the same thing, same type of concept with both acting and modeling.
And, when we're talking about even auditioning and whether or not you need to have experience auditioning or not, that is a question that's coming on in, because I think it's, more or less you have to put your foot forward. And so if you don't have experience, the only way to get experience is to audition. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
always be auditioning. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a question about union or non-union. Is it better to stay non-union for the time being?
Yes.
That's a good question.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is the golden place for you to be. So if you can aim towards this, you get the best of both worlds. If you can aim towards being SAG eligible, you're actually in both camps. I mean, you can do SAG roles being independent, because if you're unique enough and they can kind of reason for you being in that production, then yes. If you yes, because there is huge amounts of money when you become SAG, if you get onto these commercials that have residuals and whatnot, but if you can get into being SAG eligible and just sit right there, it's amazing. Because when I'm searching for talent, I'm searching, usually if I'm doing something independent, then I'll look for non-union and SAG eligible or SAG FICOR, because that camp can do independent stuff. Once you become SAG-AFTRA, like a SAG-AFTRA member, you can no longer do independent stuff. So you have to be very mindful. Once you cross that line, you can only stick in that, you can only stay in that one camp. You can't do independent stuff unless if you decide to opt into being SAG FICOR. So that's a little bit different. You can do independent stuff there. So, but your beauty spot really is right there at SAG. Is SAG eligible.
And I 1000% agree with what Vicky said as well. A lot of people will come, they're like, hey, I'm what can I do to get SAG? Well, what have you done? I've done nothing. I'm like, well, your goal would probably be to get some things under your belt and to start working. And then if you find yourself doing so many SAG projects and it makes sense to you to go that route, then do that. But what Vicky said also is, if they already are SAG, oftentimes I refer them to go FICOR so they can do, non-union things as well. And it is a personal preference of what they want to do. One thing you have to remember is when you're a part of SAG, that comes with a lot of other different types of things, and, your memberships and there, it's a little more strict, approach to things. But, certainly, you're paid more and your commission is less. I mean, there's a lot of things that are beneficial to that too.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you'll want to go to SAG-AFTRA anyway. Once you become fully experienced, you become a name, people recognize you. You absolutely want to be SAG-AFTRA. One of the differences with being SAG FICOR, which is why some people decide to either go one way or the other, is FICOR is financial core. So there are some things that they have to there's a payoff. So there are some things in like their retirement plan that you forfeit because you want to go FICOR. So there are pros and cons to staying as a SAG-AFTRA member or going FICOR. So just you would have to investigate a little bit more, but there are some definite pros and cons for doing that. But once you become SAG, and you don't mind, dropping some of those advances, in the retirement plan, then yeah, you can go FICOR, and then you're open to both.
All these different organizations and ways to be able to join it. I think it's just exciting for us to be able to see kind of the trajectory as far as what might be from being brand new, to be able to see kind of what's out there, the aspirational opportunities and such. We had a quick question to circle back when Ellie, when you were you both were talking about comp card. Can you explain a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, so your comp card is what's used by the model, and that's what they present towards it. What a comp card is a series of different looks. So it could be like a high fashion, a casual, a fitness, a novelty. Back in the day, they used portfolios. They usually had a big binder full of those types of things, and you would present that to the client. It'll have your stats on there. It'll have, meaning your sizing, down to your hair color. I mean, everything like that. And that's what you present to a client. They can actually use that and determine how they'd like to use that within, their campaign that they're doing. You don't want to put unprofessional things in a comp card. It's nice to be able to see someone who's professional. And if they're going for a professional job, you're going to have professional photos in there and make sure it looks as, as nice as you can. Again, you're up against a lot of other people. It's not just you. So when you think about that, it's very competitive world, and you're wanting to put your best foot forward with those types of things as well. One thing that I look at when I receive things from models is I'll look and see what their comp card looks like, and if those are eligible photos that we would be able to use in moving forward. I can tell you most of the time they're not, because people just hear the word comp card and think they know what they're supposed to do. So getting, again, that education and coaching and knowing what you're supposed to do, for what you're trying to do is very helpful. And there are certain companies that might not care about other things that you have on your comp card. And so it's kind of relative as to what you're pushing that forward, with. But yeah, that's what a comp card is.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So switching a little bit gears, as far as we have so many age demographics that have joined us this afternoon. And we have one that's asking the question, Yoshi's asking the question, I want to know if it's difficult to get experience or traction as a teen actor, and if it's realistic to pursue without connections or prior experience.
So yeah, for her, yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. Go ahead, Vicky. Mm-hmm.
Well, I was just going to say, because you can do acting classes online. So you don't even have to get out and talk to people, other than the people that are in your acting group. Is I would take maybe, to dabble in, is to start taking some online acting courses that are going to cover all of the aspects of becoming a professional actor on film. Make sure it's on-screen acting and that it's not theatrical. As in like theater acting. So I have had people that have said, oh, I've been doing theater for so many years, and they didn't have a lot of experience and they didn't have any training in on-screen acting. There is a huge difference, and I can tell right off if you've had theatrical experience.
Definitely.
But no film acting experience. Mm-hmm. So today with technology, especially over COVID and all of that, is that there are so many opportunities for you to get fully trained using Zoom, using online classes. I know Ellie before was saying, the True Talent Network .com, they offer these classes that you can take and put you in the right direction as to where to go from there. But yes, you don't have to necessarily network. Obviously, I feel personally that it's going to expedite, because not only do you want to learn how to act in the business of acting, but this is a people industry. You actually do need to get out in front of people, so you do need to network. People need to know about you. How else are you going to market yourself? It is a physical thing. It's a physical connection. You'll find that when you're on a film set, like complete strangers. By the end of that one day, when they've wrapped, they're like family. They're strong. They're bonded together. They're like forever friends. So just know that networking is kind of key in this industry. You do want to do it. So I don't know whether that's a confidence thing and maybe, you know, just learning to step out of your comfort zone. But when you're acting for on screen, you absolutely will need to kind of get to that level where you feel confident in doing that. But to start with, you can just do online classes, so you don't have to be networking necessarily at the beginning.
And if you need like any type of referral, I have referrals in specific states too, for those types of things. If you would like to have that, feel free. Last time we did a webinar, I had several people reach out to me, to my email, just wanting to talk about, what they need to do. And I'm more than happy to help and assist in that direction too, to put you in the right hands of where you need to go. And I think Kate had put my stuff out there before too, but you're more than welcome to email me, just Allie@TrueTalentNetwork.com as well.
And there's networking right there. So that's
there
fantastic.
You go. Yep.
Shameless plug.
Right. No, that's so appreciated as well. And let's go a little bit further about, as we're talking about the differences between theatrical and on screen, can you provide a little bit as far as what is that difference? And the question right now is, why does the discrepancy matter? And for those of us that know, it does, but for those that are brand new, will not know.
Yes. Okay. So
no, go ahead.
Go ahead?
No.
Okay,
it's so good. No, you go ahead.
So when you have been in theater, let's say I have someone that has come into audition. This has happened many times. They tell me that they're really excited to audition today, and they've had a lot of theatrical experience in theater. But I can tell that that's the whole gamut of it. What they do, so in theater, is that the acting is very loud and out there and projecting, and it's whereas film is very intimate. It's all within this one little frame. And so there is a huge difference. And I wish you guys could be a fly on the wall as I'm doing castings, live castings. You will, like, I've had assistants that have come in and they've watched all of these castings, like live face to face, and they're like, wow, I just had no idea that this goes on. And so because we have people come in, and I can tell right away if you've had theatrical training. And theatrical is in theater training, not theatrical is in film. And they'll be over the top, and which is not a bad thing, I want to state, but you have to be able to take direction to bring it down. So I can tell right away. In fact, I'll say that, have you had theater training? They'll say yes. So it is more that they're kind of speaking out loud and huge, and it's like they're trying to reach this enormous audience, and that's not film at all. Film is completely different. It is acting, but it's a different type of acting. So it's just that they've learned to project themselves. They're overconfident. They're like, it's almost like this overcompensation. So I can work with that as long as you can take direction well. And sometimes I would rather that you overdo it than underdo it. Because if you underdo it, I can't tell what you're really capable of. But if you overdo it, if you were going to swing one way of the pendulum, then by overdoing it tells me, wow, you can go there. Like, I've had some very interesting castings. Like, okay, you don't need to do that. It's okay. And then I'll give them some direction, saying, okay, let me give you some direction. I'll tell you a little bit more about the project. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then if I see change and they do a great change, then they're in. But if they do the exact same thing, then I just thank them for coming, and usually there's not more conversation and we're done. So
well, there's some people that are very talented at both Broadway type things and motion picture. I mean, look at Hugh Jackman. He's a good example of that. But you'll notice there's a big difference in his performance, as an actor.
And shift.
Versus TV or film. So you can definitely see that difference.
Right.
Yeah.
We have another question. And that was just so important for us to understand, because it is, again, you don't know what you don't know. And so to be able to see that all, if I have stage experience, I can do it very similar. But again, it's that feedback that's really important, to be able to say, bring it down, tone it down. But that coaching, those classes absolutely help you through that. I know I've
Yes.
definitely appreciated those opportunities as well. Quick question, and then we're going to have time probably for only one more after this one, is that we have Allie's asking about, and I'm sure there's a lot out there of asking that she can't play a particular role, such as like a romantic role. So can you share, how can someone play it if they don't have experience doing it?
Oh, this comes down to training again. That's not something I can answer in one sentence. It really does come down to training, and it's about also finding a place that's similar. You know, I've had actors actually on set, and they have to play a role of something really devastating happened. And they've never been in that particular situation, but what they did is they thought about their grandfather passing away, and they listened to music that kind of brought all of that back. So you need to create the emotion that goes with that type of situation. So music is hugely valuable, like to train to get into a certain place. So and I was so impressed by her that she was doing that. I mean, she gave me goosebumps. It was so magical. She did such an amazing job. And so you have to kind of find something else to pull from, find that emotion in a different way. So if it's music for you, if it's, you know, watching scenery, I don't know, whatever it is that brings that to you, then do that. But obviously you need to get coached on and get that training.
Great. No, thank you. It's all senses, right? All senses. Try to draw upon as much as you can. If one is failing you, then there's another thing, because you got this.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, are there questions that have not been asked that you think would be valuable for our attendees to be able to benefit from your expertise?
I'm just looking on the thread here. One of the questions says, could you please share the info about the workshop once more time to make sure? Yeah, so that one, yeah, those are, they're hosted all over the country, but this one is actually located in St. George, Utah. It's actually an hour and a half away from Las Vegas. So you could kind of make a little side trip of that if you wanted to, but you can attend live or you can attend on Zoom, depending on which one. It's on October 13th and 14th. There's one day that's designated just for actors. There's another day that's designated for just models. That's where you can get a lot of your materials put in order, getting feedback, getting a couple of reels, things for a comp card, whatever it might be. There is a code that you can use that I don't know if it expires tomorrow or the very last day of September, but it will give you an additional discount, and it's SG23 is what that is. So if you decided to go there, you'd be able to, and you'll find that, you know, a lot of that information is on the website as well.
Another amazing opportunity. Anything else as we wrap up, Vicky and Allie, for our participants?
I want to say that this is truly one of the most exciting industries to be in. I have been in other industries, but I always gravitate back to film. Film it's where you get to express a lot of your own personality. There is a lot of, you know, art involved with it. You know, it's very creative. And I think as human beings, we are creators. And so if, you know, the industry has, you know, there's a lot of hard knocks, and there's also a lot of great triumphant moments as well. So hang on to those triumphant moments and set aside, because you'll get lots of no's, but just set it aside and move on to the next. So I know that you guys are self-taping, or, you know, you're doing your best. Make sure you get the coaching that you need, because you don't want to keep forever being a professional self-taper. You want to actually get the job. You want to get cast for these jobs. So for me, education is huge. I love education. I love to give, you know, a high quality education as well. So that's why I'm here today, because I do want to see, you know, you guys rise up through the ranks and get to where you want to be. These are great dreams to have, but just make sure that you're doing it the right way. Otherwise you get frustrated and sometimes, it fizzles out. We don't want you to fizzle out. We want you to keep moving forward and making sure that you're, networking with the right people, getting the correct training, and just stay focused on that, and just know that there'll be no's, but there'll be some great yeses as well.
Definitely. Don't give up. Keep plugging away.
Great.
And thank you.
Well,
Thank you for allowing us to be a part of that. It's always nice to be able to hear questions from everyone and to kind of understand. We know, obviously, there's so many questions to be asked because people, they don't oftentimes get those answers in the way that they should, or in a timely manner. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We had a lot more questions. Unfortunately, I'm sorry that we weren't able to get to, but the answers that you have provided are absolutely invaluable. And thank you so much for your time, your energy, your commitment to the creative process. And for everyone here, we just want to say thank you again, and we will see you at our next all casting webinar. Have a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful, beautiful weekend holiday. Take care, everyone. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.